calling all millionaires and future millionaires. Welcome to Go to Millions. I'm Ari Murray. Nice to meet you. This is go-to-market strategy for the big dogs. Woof, woof. Sit back, relax, or go get your steps, or add stuff to your cart. That's 100% what I recommend you do. Whatever you do, please pay close attention to these million-dollar ideas from the biggest and baddest operators and founders in the entire world. Off we go. My best friend Ferg and I talk about all things social, Bob's watches, being co-workers, her time at the NFL, and most importantly, being best friends. You're going to love her and you're going to learn so much from her, how she thinks about investing in shopping, how she thinks about running community, and how she thinks about the world. Ferg is everything to me, and you will see why. Off we go in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Give your customers a luxurious, mobile-first experience. Unlock way higher retention rates through a mobile app that turns your customers into loyal fans. Head to tapcart.com/millions today and discover how to easily turn your Shopify store into an app. Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I am so excited for you to meet my very best friend, Emily Fergason. She's married now. She has a whole new last name, but I still call her Ferg. So, Ferg, come on out. And I'm so excited. Hi, best friend.
Hi. I wish I was there with you, but this is just as good.
Our long distance friendship is not working for me.
Sooner or later, we'll do an in-person.
Let's just kick right off. How did you get into marketing, and was it intentional or did you fall into this?
So intentional. I'm not going to lie. I knew in high school that I wanted to go into marketing. Initially, I thought I would do a little bit of sports marketing for the rest of my life. And so really kind of getting in front of the camera and learning, I guess, how to create my own content really helped navigate me into marketing. So it was very intentional. And it was the best decision I've ever really trusted my gut on and followed through with.
It's crazy because most people say, oh no, like for me, I wanted to be a lawyer. I didn't even know what marketing was. But you're like, oh no, I had this plan. I was always going to be on your talent. I was always going to be in this field. And it's like, makes sense knowing you because it's so your calling. And should we tell them quickly before we go into it what happened the first time we did this? I think you should tell it.
Yeah, you have progressed so much. And I mean this in a very positive manner. When we so content has always been my thing. Ari and I met at a startup formerly known as Stack Nation. And obviously that's how her and her now husband met as well. So we were our own little tripod and I had to create some live content. This was like in the era of really like live being kind of new. Yeah. And so we decided to go try some snacks and Ari was going to be my talent. And so I'm producing from kind of behind the phone. Ari, in a matter of 30 seconds, basically started laughing and walked off camera. So we are live. Granted, only about 150 people had tuned in at that time, but it was a sponsored piece of content. And so we didn't know what to do. We're like, error happened. And then I just went ahead and sat in. And that's how I ended up doing snack chats for the rest of the year.
Well, in my defense, when he kept up the camera and he said we were live, he had like a little smile on his face. And poor me, I just thought that was so funny. And I didn't see it coming either. And should I have walked off? No. But would I have controlled myself enough to continue? No.
So from a brand guidelines perspective, it was better to not have to figure it out from a disaster. It was just we had a technical difficulty. So then we fixed it.
What's funny is you telling that story, I forgot I walked off, but now I remember I did. I
think my heart went from here to another basement level. I thought oh my gosh, I'm losing my job right now.
Yeah.
And thankfully that did not happen.
It didn't happen, but I was never asked back, rightfully so. But we're going to try this again. I won't giggle. I won't leave.
Yeah, we're going to laugh. We're going to have fun. Just even if you walk off, come back. We got it.
Okay, I'll come back. All right. So what was your first ever job in marketing? And just tell us your journey. Hint, she worked at the NFL. So
yes, I did eventually. That was kind of one of my favorite places ever. So hello, everybody. This is kind of just my own personal experience. I would say my first paying job was actually with the WNBA. I was a little paranoid after I graduated from college. again, knew I wanted to work in marketing. And so I worked as a game entertainment manager. What is that? Essentially, multiple hats. You're working as basically the lead for multiple different departments. And so I was a marketing manager, but I also, so that was like very traditional. I mean, seriously, like curating community awareness through some like brand marketing initiatives. I think I used something called Valpak. People are not familiar with that. Look into it. It's just kind of a funny, like, where did you start? Valpak. So anyway, I was a little bit of traditional marketing, but very much like social media. It was like digital. It was on the cusp of it. So when you attend a sporting event, and say you walk into an arena, every like board or light like banner that you see running anything branded or a fun little segment during a timeout to the halftime performers, that was all me. I had to organize all of it. And what was crazy was I took this job with the WNBA in Oklahoma. So this was during the era of the trio at the Oklahoma City Thunder. So this was like James Harden, this was Russell Westbrook, and this was Kevin Durant. So it was like big deal. But during the summer, I was working for the WNBA in Tulsa. And so during that time, I knew no one. I moved there without knowing anyone.
I can't imagine. And like, again, that's because you're the brave one. Like, when I think of your career and even just the stops that you've had on it, you were always doing things that other people wouldn't even think to do. And that's how you were always like, your resume reads like fine china.
And if that's really sweet of you, it's definitely been a unique path. I call it, it feels not a little meandering, but I have definitely like carved out understandings and knowledge in all of these different little placements. And so I only lasted 13 months. And in this time frame, like, it was very traditional. People were shocked, like, oh my goodness, you're leaving. And I'm like, yeah, I think I've earned and learned like what I can here. And so then that journey led me to California when I got a job with the NFL. And so I started working with the NFL as one of their content, I think I was like a social content manager. And I mean, this was like, you want to talk about, I hovered trying to hit send on a tweet. And seriously, my hands would uncontrollably shake for a solid 2 weeks. I had to really kind of like mentally talk to myself that like, they hired you, you are here, you know what you're doing. But they had a very like premium expectation as far as like anything that you put live or scheduled. I think scheduled ahead, we were like a day and a half ahead, but we were scheduling every 15 minutes. So this was across Snapchat. Yes, this was the time of Snapchat, like just launched. I think we were the first like sport partner. So we got to create campaigns around like that initial launch, which was really fun. But it was like heavily Twitter, heavily Facebook, heavily Instagram. They weren't really doing a ton of Pinterest. That was kind of in a different sector. And so it was really just creating partnerships, like leveraging sort of our talent. So our talent were our players and coaches at the time. And then any of our celebrity partnerships that we had too. So much fun. Even after that, for 2 years, I decided I want to kind of test and learn what's going on in the startup world. So that's how I went in and became a social media manager over at Snack Nation. And
you did.
I know that I learned a lot there, especially jumping from sports to snacks, which is even crazier. Flash forward, I now work in luxury e-commerce selling luxury watches. So look, never stop learning. And I think especially if you're willing, trust your gut. If you get the chance to try something out, do it. I feel like these days you are one of the best examples I've seen of this, of being able to like try something. And if it doesn't work for you, it is not a place you have to stay and dedicate your life to. If you're in and out in a month, great. You learned something for a month and now you're taking that to your next role. So that's a little bit about my journey.
In our Stagnation days, we were both there for a long time. And then when we left, I then had my job hopping year where I fully, like, I was like, oh, Ferg, this is it. Like, I found it. I'm ready. And then you would be the first person I would be like, hey, I hate it. I have to. And
FYI, you're getting called by somebody.
True. But it fully, like, it was a hard year. And you were the only person you were the first person to always tell, because you were like, oh, this is a stop on the road. Like, it's going to be perfect. Like, I'm so proud of you. So thank you for that.
And it was. Look at you.
Well, look at us. So tell us about what you're currently working on and what your day looks like at Bob's Watches and what Bob's Watches is.
Okay, let's try to start with the easy, digestible thing. So Bob's Watches is an luxury pre-owned watch company. So we sell everything from Rolex to Cartier, all the brands under the sun, but they're all pre-owned. And so you're like, sounds a little sketchy. Promise it's not. This company's been around for 12 years. We're in Newport Beach, California, kind of the mecca of luxury beach living. It has been so fun. The best part, though, is like we're not really just a brick and mortar. We are. That's a beautiful side of it. But I would say like 96% of our sales are really online and e-commerce. And so that's where we really have to gauge proper marketing tactics. We're always optimizing. Honestly, when I come in at a day's time, it's really interesting because the caveat to my role, especially working in marketing, is our products are available and ready to ship. So we ship overnight. So if somebody were to go on to bobswatches.com and buy a product, it sells. It is now out of my inventory and not available for me to create content around. So I work on almost like a 24-hour cycle, gauging like what's available in inventory and how I'm going to use my marketing tactics to create content that ultimately can like sell our watches or create a brand awareness about us. So a day-to-day, I am a very scheduled person. I do enjoy understanding what I'm getting into, but this is one of the first places that I really have had to kind of let go a little bit of control, and I can organize as much as possible. I do oversee social strategy. We're actually interim. We just hired a new person to step in. So I stepped back to social media management, which is what I was originally hired for here, but now I'm our senior content manager. So basically everything from getting scripts developed to go shoot content or working with talent to actually bring them in and discuss the topics that we've had on the radar. I try to stay about 2 weeks ahead with our video content. So we're producing long form, and short form is really kind of our split with content. So for us, I do a regular long form piece of content once a week, every week. And short form, I have about 15 pieces of content go live every week. And so really just managing all of that. I'm a one-person team. So again, kind of back to those NFL standards that, look, if something goes out from our brand, it better be perfect. Mm-hmm. And I mean that wholeheartedly. Like mistakes will happen, but I think having that precedent has allowed like really great things to come out from my team. Team of 2, mind you. So I really have a videographer who also doubles as an editor. And I have an editor that I work with in the Philippines as well, but really everything funnels through the two of us. So this is like copywriting, really gauging SEO titles, and even like community managing. I literally will stop and do all of it. So I stay as humble as possible, even though I'm kind of like tracking up close, ladder in my career. I will never not do the most entry level of things just because number one, I think it keeps me fresh. And number two, it's your audience. That's really where you're learning on a day-to-day basis of like, what do they want to see next? It's not just keywords and search trends that go into it. It's really also about that, interaction that you're having with your community and making sure that you're servicing their needs and wants.
I love that. And I think for me, you always have, of my entire career, been the most hands-on social person. And you were always involved in all parts of the marketing funnel, even though maybe your core like JD would say, like video content and managing social media. I wouldn't even have comments and you'd be in there like fighting the good fight. Like I feel like you would be in the ad comments. You fully make it your business to know what's going on because you have really good ideas and then you shape what other departments go do. And yes, the fact you're like, oh, I will always want to know how it's done, so I'm always going to help to do it myself. That's how I am too. And because what am I supposed to be like 5 years removed from ever being inside Shopify? How am I supposed to tell anyone how it works or what to do? Like, it's just,
yes,
you are.
It's so true. I love that you're bringing that out because sometimes I kind of skirt over that it almost means like, oh, I'm nosy or I just want to be involved. No, I genuinely care. And that way I can help in any capacity because everything trickles through like whatever you're doing. So I do enjoy even just shutting up and listening. If you can't tell, I enjoy speaking, but I've learned to shut up and just listen and then be able to ask really targeted questions that not only help like what I'm doing improve, but also help like the betterment of our, working goals for our team as a whole. It also like gets you in the conversation. And maybe this is a little tip or trick if you guys are kind of like navigating your own journey. Ask if you can sit in on some meetings. People will really take that to heart because time is money. And if you're spending 30 minutes sitting in on a call that maybe, it's not like you're going and taking their secrets and sharing it, but you're just gauging how can you assist in that, then they need an ask. Now you're the first person that they want to tap of, hey, can you maybe like generate an outline for what this will look like? What does this rundown consist of? Like, do you have some SEO titles that you would name this, piece of content from a partnership perspective? We just worked with a really big partner this year called Goop. I don't know if you guys are familiar.
We love Goop. Gwyneth Paltrow.
Yeah.
The e-com luxury marketplace in the world.
Yes, they know what they're doing and they do it really well. And so you want to talk about asking to join into a meeting? I did. And I was not a part of those initial conversations, but by asking to be a part of that, I was aware of what their expectations were from the beginning. And so with that, we ended up making a really successful first kind of partnership with them to the point that they came back to us within days and were like, let's do another thing for the holiday. And so those are the types of opportunities that come in just kind of inserting yourself at times.
And I think when you're in the room, you then don't need to be briefed into what's going on and you have context. And so when one of those cool opportunities comes up, you're able to quickly come in and help. And then you just decided that, oh, yay, I don't have this 30-minute meeting. I can like play on my phone or whatever people do, like to make it your business to know and to make it your business to stay involved. Then you get to help make sometimes the coolest projects come to life. And sometimes the most helpful projects that maybe are like grunt work that it's not always fun, but
but then you're the point person for very key players. And sometimes those initial kickoff calls, those are when the key players are part of it. They're not in the day-to-day really getting this thing launched. That's on you to own and absorb. And so by hearing maybe one little thing that they threw out now helps you drive something that's going to make them even happier with sort of those end results. So key players at all points will help kind of guide what you need to be looking out for, and also just how to ask questions in that initial go around so that you can tailor what you're doing to their expectations, which seems simple, but it's not always simple.
But it's not something that most people do. And like for us, now that we've been around the block a bit, we know the people on our teams, the people we work with that seem to know at all times what's going on. And those are the people that you time and time again get to work on the best stuff with because they're in like the thick of it all.
Oh, absolutely.
So you're world-class at organic social. What makes for a great Instagram brand page or TikTok page to you? Because Bob's Watches is...
Oh, thank you. So we've had to like optimize a lot. And honestly, a lot of things that play into sort of our community niche as it is happened years ago. And we're still seeing a little bit of that, I don't know, have to like untie a knot a little bit. So we sort of created a Rolex-centric community. We sell many other brands than Rolex, but that's sort of where our bread and butter lies. So for us, we've learned that regardless of your experience around watches, whether you are a first-time purchaser or you are even a looky-loo, like you haven't even like entered the world of watches yet, or you are a very experienced collector, what you give a shit about is the watches. And so if you're going to come to my page, or any page for that matter, watches need to be front and center. And again, at that perfected like standard, they better look fucking perfect. Excuse my language. They better look perfect. I mean, like clean. And there's this thing in watches where all watches are set to 10-10. And that's like visibly, I'm going to try to do this. Where's my camera? It's like this. And it's because logos are here and you can almost see the dial at its cleanest point.
Oh, I did not know that.
Fun little fact, yeah, especially if you kind of start to gauge like what Rolex has on all of their website to like marketing materials, even on their own Instagram, all of their stuff is set to 10-10. And that's more of just that industry expected visual cue. So what does organic content look like on ours? It has to be a good mix. I think that has been like something I've sang for years and I'm still singing true to it. It better include a proper mix. You better have a pretty clear and at least hook of a bio. Like bio has become front and center these days. And if there's not a link for me to click through and learn more about you, you're missing that opportunity, especially on Instagram where it's not a clicky state. Even stories, like, come on, I feel like I can speak for myself only, but chime in if you're kind of the same, where I almost like default to stories first these days versus your actual feed content.
Same, especially now that a lot of accounts are pinning those first 3 posts. I assume that if I want to know what's happening like today, like what is actually this brand, or sometimes even in feed, you can't tell if they're going for the aesthetic or like what they sell. And for if I go in stories and I see like this is what the brand does in a day, I'm like, oh, okay, I completely understand, or this is the customer that they're showing, or this is the product, this is the watch. And then I feel like I have more clarity. So
yes. And one big thing for us too is like, we've known that our audience has been like 90% male for some time. Just because that's your current audience does not mean that that has to stay like that. So I've been a big driving force for, at least in watches, like watches are watches. They're technically genderless. Like you can say male and female, but I don't give a shit. If I like your watch and I don't care what size it is, I'm going to wear it. Like the one I have on right now. This is, where's my
closer?
Cartier. This is technically a men's watch.
It doesn't look like
I'm wearing it and I like it.
Pretty great.
Yeah. So I make sure to infiltrate some, like at least a proper balance of like men's and women's content and really kind of shining a light on our biggest key. So for us, it's inventory. At least from a competitor standpoint, their inventory isn't in and ready to ship, whereas ours is. And so I'm trying to highlight some of the top new arrivals, if you will. So like drops are a massive choice. And we had never really touched on that for a while. So very curated photography and videography, making sure that the watch is front and center. And then really leading with personalities. Our company was a little hesitant to lead with personalities for some time. And so June will be 3 years for me. So in the last like 2.5 years, I really tried to focus on promotable personalities. What is the number one thing in marketing, guys? Scream it with me now. People buy from people, not brands.
People buy from people, not brands.
And it's so true. And so when they want to, when someone resonates with them, that's what's going to keep them coming back. Yes, trust and like authenticity and proper service and, ease of execution or navigation of your website are key these days. But there's also that, balanced side of making sure that there's a connection point. If they want to chat on your site, make sure it works. If they're interacting with you in DMs, make sure you respond. And I have a rule. It's 24 hours. I don't care community-wise. If you want to do 48, not for me. It's 24 or you're missing out on that opportunity. It's not to say that you can't, make a conversion after 24 hours, but who wants to be ignored for more than 24 hours these days? Not me.
Nope, we're too clingy for that. And I think for me, you, just as someone who knows you and also follows Bob's Watches, I see the familiar people that are within the content. And I love that you even show sometimes even behind the scenes, or there's like a real understanding that real people work here and that this is a real legitimate business, that we have a storefront, that we have offices, and that there's fully like not a separation of this is our online presence and then this is like a brand that is untouchable. I think it's very, very cohesive. And I think that's because there are those familiar faces and that like you are a calming force. And if you want to tell me about a watch, then I would gladly listen, even if I wasn't like your best friend.
That's so nice. That's great. I think a lot of people actually kind of knock me, which is maybe one part that's hard to be not only like overseeing all of our content, but also being a personality in the content. Look, it's tricky. There are definitely like keyboard warriors that just want to go off on you. I had something go not viral, but it's a bigger piece of content for us. So each week we produce a longer form piece of content on YouTube that I cut into short form content. Yes, Rustin, and it's kind of like Tommy and his little content strategies from Marketing Millennials. So shout out to that. But really just kicking back and highlighting products each Monday in this series called Watch in the Box. And Ooh. I speak for the ladies, which is kind of fun. Not to say that men don't care about what I have to say, but I feel like I can have that instant in with ladies who just get it because I get it. Right. And I showed a Nautilus, a Patek Philippe Nautilus, and it had apparently I've learned now, a watchmaker's 4. So it's Roman numerals around the dial, like in the hour markers. And I thought like, oh my gosh, this is this cool, unique work. And I wanted to highlight it in this video. So the long form people scooched over, it didn't see anything, but I clipped my segment for the ladies, right? Creating ladies content. Right. When I posted this to TikTok and Instagram's Reels and Shorts, people called me the F out. And they were like, oh, this is a clock or a watchmaker's 4. I guess like it was I versus IV. I thought this was fucking crazy.
Okay, I have no idea. I don't even know how to read Roman numerals, so I definitely wouldn't have called you out. I would have been like, hey. I was like, oh, this is so unique. And people just went off. And it's like, I would expect one of them. I would expect somebody with this knowledge to like be able to know that this is just common. And I'm like, again, you can't really worry about it. But to be fair, like it does speak to the range of our audience. So I try to almost pitch myself in these weeks since my little flub that like I am a novice. Like I am so new to this world. Like I've traded athletes and stats for watches and reference numbers. Like I'm still learning, and it's not like it was a mistake, but it's definitely those things that, look, what do they say? Like no press is bad, or no press is bad press. Yes. And so to be fair, like our piece of content got shared a lot more than other pieces of content. So look, I flubbed, but I think in the end we win. But like from e-com, not everyone who comes and buys a watch from Bob's Watches or a purse from Hermes or whoever they're buying from, not everyone is made it their life's mission to know about watches. And sometimes maybe they're buying it for their husband. Maybe they're buying it for themselves because their favorite influencer had the same watch and now they've been able to find it. And there's a lot of Fergs out there who know a bunch and who definitely are about to buy this watch. But do they always know every detail of every type of watch? And do they make it their life's mission? No, they probably also care about shoes and hair and work and family and 45 million other things. So I think it's better that you can be the like person on screen who is on the journey with the consumer.
Yes.
Because I don't want to I don't need like a professor of watches. I would prefer someone really.
I'm a regular person, guys.
Regular person who speaks in like a normal way. And that's who I'm going to buy from and who I care about. And I would prefer you not be like scared to talk about watches, even if it's not a watch you've known like the history of for 45 years, because
Exactly. So there are some people that are like, look, be light. It's not that heavy. But at the end of the day, it was still definitely a learning lesson. And I try to gauge even some of those like more targeted negative things as like a driving force to like kind of triple check and do my research a little bit more, especially before stepping in front of it. But I'm also going to be authentic to myself. And that's just who I am. So
love that. How do you give your customers a luxurious mobile first experience? You create a mobile app that makes buying seamless and gives shoppers VIP access to your brand's latest news, content, promos, drops, and exclusives. Unlock a 2.4x higher LTV rate and send your retention rates to the moon by turning your Shopify store into a mobile app in a matter of weeks with Tapcart. How? By heading to tapcart.com/millions today and getting 1 month free. Okay, I've got lightning round of questions for you. If you could recommend one piece of media, it could be a podcast, someone to follow, or a brand you look up to, who would it be or what would it be that would help them to level up? Like, what would you choose?
Okay, so I love being uncomfortable, like getting pushed into uncomfortable states. And like copywriting is a big thing for me. And I see a bunch of people's questions about ChatGPT. Done using it, guys. Come on. Like, especially just to kickstart, structure of scripts or titles or keywords to use, just something that's rooted in an SEO strategy. I'm going to ChatGPT first. But I'm also like making sure that I'm tailoring it to like what I know works and sort of my own understanding of verbiage. My biggest recommendation is Eddie Schlaner and Very Good Copy. He makes me so uncomfortable with some of his writing prompts, and they're all super limited. And so for me, fun fact, I was on Wheel of Fortune, but I've always loved like words. So like words are almost like puzzles to me. And so especially when I'm like selling a product, like not only does it have to come off my tongue right, I have to see it, and it has to almost like it has a weight to it. So it has to feel very like balanced. And I feel like when I actually do the writing prompts from Eddie on a weekly basis, like I'm in tune with a new set of words, and like it's almost like words have to get used. Like they are in my brain, and if I do not put them to use, like they will stay in there until I actually use them. Sounds crazy. I swear I'm not crazy, but Very Good Copy. Look it up. It's a great email to subscribe to. It's super simple, and it's nothing to compete against, Go to Millions with Ari and even Marketing Millennials with Daniels. Like I'm obsessed with your guys' newsletter, so I should have said that first.
I like hearing about Eddie. I follow Eddie, but I didn't subscribe to his newsletter, so now I'm dead. I feel ashamed.
No, don't. It's easy to add into it, and honestly, it will just expand your day. There's a lot like already kind of sucking us and absorbing sort of our time, especially from a podcast sense. I still think Marketing Millennials podcast is one of my fucking favorites. You want to talk about real and just a fresh approach to what's trending and what's going to trend. You are 5 steps ahead when you listen to that podcast. So that's my like backup. But all love. Eddie's a great follow on Twitter. And I think I said Ross Simmons too. Like I love him. He is just direct and smart when it comes to content. And he makes me like feel like I'm on my toes. So I would say Eddie's my go-to though.
I think though, for you as someone who pushes out so much content and who writes so many scripts and so many captions and so many bios, you knowing and practicing and honing your art of copywriting is probably a really good lesson for us all, because anyone who writes marketing copy that gets final approval and who gets to deploy that copy is a copywriter. Like you've
totally. And even emails these days, like I'm sorry, a well-written email, and I don't mean cold emails. Those are not my jams. So I was going to ask, like, are there cold emails that come through that catch your eye that you're like, you know what, this is so great, I'm going to actually like respond? I would say very few of them for me. But I noticed like well-written ones. And same with like emails when I'm interacting with a new partner or a point of contact somewhere. If they have properly written emails or something that's just, I don't want to say energetic, but like kicks off with good energy, I cannot even explain how much more I want to immediately respond to you. Like I get back quick. And I think that response rate is almost triggered by like well-structured emails. So when you use proper copywriting and it's not like not scripts, but like basically a template that you're regurgitating frequently, not my flavor. So I, again, from a reel to reel standpoint, I really just like unique copywriting across all fronts. Even if it's in text, I help our email team with SMS copy a lot too. And it's social helps because you have to be quippy and short, but it's got to be hooky enough. So there's like 3 different things that you have to manage in a very like confined character count, like an SMS text. So anyway.
And then where do you look to for content inspiration? Because you're pushing out so much content, no matter if you're feeling creative that day.
So it's a struggle. I would say, especially when my mind has had a ton of like marketing work for the day's time and say at the end of the night, I want to shut down. I'm inspired by everything nonetheless. I still tap like printed magazines. I love hard copy magazines. And I don't necessarily mean newspapers, but like short articles that are in here of any like magazine source I love. But I would say my inspo actually comes from the things that I'm inherently like attracted to. So for me, I love fashion. I follow a lot of like luxury fashion as well. I think it's just rooted in this kind of, how do I say this? The word that's coming to me is proper, but I mean almost like prestige and brand heritage. So they never like wavering from their brand identity, but they're always trying new things. And to be fair, it's a pretty competitive market. So regardless of like where you're at, fashion is fun. And I think that they never, the brands that are doing it right have that proper mix of promoting a personality, whether it's a CEO or not an influencer, but like an ambassador of sorts. And then really creating some unique content from that. That is my favorite package. How are they doing this across all verticals? And so I would say fashion is a big one. Actually, like food is a big one too. I'm trying to be specific right now. And of course, I'm like blanking on like who has inspired me lately. I swear in my life, I save things like it's my job. And I revisit even like editors. I follow a lot of photographers because I've actually found with the new tools, especially in social, that like videographers and photographers are some of the first people to really test those new, like released features.
Yeah.
And even in the fashion world, I feel like a lot of like fashion influencers, there's a girl named Yaya Chan. Oh my gosh. She's a global girl, but she is so unique in every edit that she uses. Even some of the filters that she suggests or that she like uses, it seems so silly, but it's not the mass one. And so she always is standing out on her own. And even her partnerships are very like core to who she is. She doesn't deviate on who she participates with. So I enjoy all sides of it. Individual kind of influencer style. I love getting inspired by like bigger known global brands. And then also just kind of those, my friends, like you guys inspire me on the regular. So I don't know, it's a mixture of things for me and it changes constantly too. But I try to never forget some of those, I don't want to call them outdated mediums, but some of the other things, even my own writings. I went back to a vlog I started in high school a month or so ago. I was blown away at how I was writing then. It seemed really elevated and I almost got more inspiration to just sort of go back to that more free sense where I'm not so worried about what people are going to think. And it allowed me to tap into sort of my own, I don't know, like written style that I think is unique.
Well, I think what you said around brand consistency and like the heritage brands that you and I both love, we are luxury girlies. Yeah, I think about the consistency, but also the coming into the new age where like a Loewe would maybe have an ad in a print magazine, or maybe their like creative director would be interviewed for an article, but then they're also doing wild postings and they're also running ads on TikTok. And it's like the old world meeting the now is so fascinating. And I think, especially for Bob's Watches, that's really what it is. It's heritage pieces that even have had like a past life that get to this new hand and new owner. And I think if you're not already following Bob's Watches across every channel and putting a Rolex on your wish list, you're doing it.
We have a really fun feature that we just updated to where you can actually go onto our website and create an account and you can share your wish list. So if you're eyeing something, get on there, get it to your guy or girl and let them know, even your parents, especially with big things coming up like graduation. There's always a right time, and that's where it takes a little bit to nurture that. But thank you. That's so supportive. I do appreciate it. Even some feedback. I love constructive feedback. So especially if it's not rooted in something negative, but actually being helpful, by all means, my DMs are always open. from Instagram to TikTok, even in the Bob's Watches account. I'll see it, send it to me.
I love that. How do you think about the mobile experience when you're planning social?
Constant. I mean, we know that like 75% of our audience actually engages with us from mobile. And so like it's shopping, confirmations, window shopping, emails, obviously SMS, but social, it's not desktop. And so for that, really, we're just trying to keep it as simplified as possible. If you have to do a couple of scrolls, they're done. They don't want to do that. Be direct. Have it kind of be front and center. Again, working kind of in this luxury market, our graphic designer is amazing and she keeps things very clean. And sometimes that's a little scary, but that's the best way to let your product just do the sales for you. So mobile first is like everything. I mean, especially these days, you have to gauge how it's being received there and then desktop secondarily. I would say, I mean, it depends on what we're speaking to. Like we just did a full website relaunch. I can't explain to you how massive the mobile side was. I think we actually held for an extra month just to fully fine tune that mobile experience. And so it's now to a point that we launched it a couple of months ago and it's been serving us wonders.
Love. And I think for us, when we're designing websites, we start in mobile view and then we do desktop as secondary. And when we're presenting to clients, we present and walk through the prototype of mobile thing. And then we won't even if in module 2, the client has a question on like, how would this look on desktop? We won't even pull it up until we go through because we know that not only does the traffic come from mobile, but that's where people especially are engaging from social. So you're driving people on Instagram. All the traffic you're driving is never going to land on desktop. No one's on their computer.
Oh, I've tried to schedule some stuff on TikTok, which is so frustrating. It makes you want to die. Like, truly, maybe sometimes these brands will understand that some of the companies we work for are really traditional and I have to like fight to get a company phone so I can like gauge everything from mobile. But desktop experience should be built into like Instagram and TikTok because people are using it that way, especially from a professional stance. It's like they see us sitting at our desks with our phones and they're like, what are you doing? It's like, I'm working. Come on, mobile first, baby. But we realize, what is the big thing with social, Ari? Visual, right? So for us, from that mobile stance, even when we're keeping it clean, we are definitely leading with that hooky, eye-catching, showstopper, scroll stopper, visual note first. How are we going to grab your attention and make you want to see or learn more? That's it.
And then when you're thinking about, as you're planning your organic content and you're driving like that actual link out, are you driving more and linking more out of stories, or are you saying in the in-feed post, like go to our bio, or is it a mix of it all?
It, again, kind of leaning back to this sort of, it's tough to have an older C-suite that you have to sell very social first activation. So whether this is like captions with click our link in bio, we've like teetered back and forth on that. I think that initial link in your bio is like prime real estate property, right? But if you're only giving them one opportunity to experience your brand, say a direct link to your website versus something like later and link in bio or any of your link tree stuff, like think about it. You're giving somebody way more opportunity to find their connection point with you from that standpoint versus one and done. They go to the website and your website's confusing or they can't find what they want, they're out. Run, session over, and you may have lost them forever. Exactly. And so there is definitely value in having a unique structure to yourself. But if trends are leaning towards link in bio, we are fully using that now. It's way more opportunity to send people directly to where you want them. Wow. But stories are massive. I mean, this is a feature that if you're not using it, you are already 10 steps behind. And I will say we're UTMing a lot of things from those story links just to gauge like where are they going after. And so that's been really fun to just make sure that we're kind of all in the succinct data that is showing us what people are doing with those story links. And for me, the experience, I don't know what you can say, like I enjoy stories more. I said this at the beginning of our conversation. So if somebody has a direct link and it makes it easy to go read extra stories or see their press release or, you know what I mean, learn more, then I'm more apt to come back and make that purchase. I do actually really like shopping in like Instagram specifically, or even like links in TikTok. I mean, I'm clicking them. Are you?
100%. And like that's where I figure out what I'm gonna go buy. And so I'll sometimes see something on Instagram or on TikTok, and I will text the link to it, not to you, but to myself, and I will save it for when I've like got to go buy it. And
Oh yeah.
I love the verb you just created, UTMing. I'm gonna save that one. But I think the data of what's happening on organic, and then you seeing what happens on the conversion side and being able to trace that journey and learn, okay, this type of story on this day selling this is a killer, and to go do it again and again.
We have seen, especially from like content wise, if we use any ounce of the word investing or like really like investing or business, or the value has like gone up, anything in that, at least 5x times anything else that we're doing, no matter what. And that's just where it's the business proposition. Mm-hmm. And so we really do kind of look to those, and those numbers don't lie.
100%. And then we're only as good as how happy we're able to keep our community. So how do you think about building a community of Bob's Watches for the long term?
I think about it all the time, actually, especially like having that chance to sort of be that personality in camera. I'm able to connect with people, and I always try to just like keep it real. I think for me, I'm in a position where I actually work with 2 other people in my like long form video content series. So instead of like one-to-one, like myself to the camera and our audience, it's me with other experts really, that we're now gauging our video proposition to that audience together. And so I really try to, again, turn it off at time when it needs to be, allow them to kind of have that spotlight to really better the brand image in that sense, and then really tie it together. I think I have a really good hosting capabilities, especially right now with like watches, to kind of bring that group together. So we've started something where we haven't started it. It's known in the industry. It's called a wrist check. And when we launched this new piece of content 2 months ago, we did not do a wrist check. And I just thought that it was a little cringy from that initial like sort of structuring of this series. People asked about it nonstop. And so it was like, look, give your people what they're asking for. And so we've looped back our wrist checks just to kind of also give a secondary option. We like double the product that we're allowed to sell. Sometimes I'll wear my own personal pieces, but sometimes I'll wear what's also available on our website. So this gives us extra links in our descriptions. This gives us an opportunity to catch somebody else that maybe doesn't care about what we're highlighting, but loved what was on my wrist. And that's, again, another play there. I respond to every comment on our YouTube, and I try to respond to every comment on our Reels, TikToks, even Twitter and Facebook. Look, I don't leave any comment behind, because that person could physically be a customer in a matter of minutes. And so it's all about being heard. And even when they're negative, I always try to like let them know I've heard them, respect their opinion, even if it's kind of grimy at times. And I always engage them back with another question. And that's because I want to learn where they're coming from. Because if you're a follower with the potential to be a customer, what is that in between? If I don't ask you a question to gauge that, I will never know.
For me, I see so many brands where 1 ounce of negativity, they're block, delete, forever gone. And then you're just lying. Like, it's a fake community. It's a fake way of actually having that conversation. Yeah. And I've seen you go toe to toe with the best of them in the comments, and you're always coming from a way that represents the brand in a really beautiful way.
Thank you. Tone of voice is very important to stay true, especially when you're like community managing to a degree. But I also think like not wavering. I think when I, with my co-host in one of our long form series, we try to say like, look, we're not going to hype this thing up completely. If you don't like it, don't say that you like it. Like, say, boo, this sucks. Like, I hate that size. I hate that metal type. I don't like the Arabics, whatever it may be. Like, speak to it, because now then that gives somebody that's watching an opportunity to be like, hell yeah, and champion the fact that you're being honest and you don't like something.
And
that's also thing. Yes. And that's another chance to also bring in and say like, look, if you don't like, I don't know, a Rolex Submariner, have you looked at the Tudor Pelagos? Oh, baby, that price point is so much better, or whatever. The materials that they're using, you're getting almost the same value of a watch for way less, whatever it may be. Again, that gets you the chance to really be authentic, but have a personality, God forbid. Not everybody has to be a robot these days.
I love that. Okay, I have 2 last questions for you. Go to Millions. We're big shoppers. What's on your current wish list?
Not the Teletubby boots that are popping around TikTok and Instagram right now. Have you seen those?
No.
It's like by Up Next Designer. Oh my God, never mind that. I will show you later. Maybe it's just my office that I was freaking out about them. Okay, I want a pair of roller skates for summer. I have an almost 2-year-old and I live right by the ocean. So we go down and do walks all the time. And I'm like, wouldn't this be so fun to just like roller skate and push him in a stroller, or like just go down to the beach and like skate a little bit? So that's on my list. And also I need a new purse so badly. So I kind of can't stop. I don't know. I need a little bit of variety in my purse game, but Stout has just been like stepping it up to another level. I can't deny them. And also a Colt Gaia dress for summer, because my birthday's in summer and it's like Colt Gaia dress and bag. Maybe I do it the same. I don't know. That's where I'm at right now. So those are I just saved them as of like last night.
I love that. I love that you started with the roller skate. So we'll make sure that happens. I would love to be the mom that's roller skating, but I know for sure you don't take my kids roller skating, and I'll be like waiting with lemonade. That's kind of for you. I just bought a really cool pair of Staud running shoes that are rainbow, and they come with rainbow laces. I'll show you.
They do everything right. They leave no detail untouched, ever.
And then my last question for you is, when you think about how you got your start, is there one specific person you want to thank? Or it could be a teacher, it could be anyone that you're like, wow, this is kind of why I'm here.
Well, my parents, number one, because my parents 1000% always told me to number one, trust my gut, but to also like go do what I wanted to do. My dad would always say like travel while you're young, which meant like don't feel like you have to stay at home to appease us. Like if you want to move to California, work your butt off, figure out how you're going to get out there and make it happen. And so I've always like appreciated that. Even my grandfather, before my parents got to that adult age, would always try to teach me business and say brain over outside. And so regardless of like always wanting to be in front of the camera, I kind of like decided to step to the business side to be able to like be known for my brain and my knowledge versus like any exterior sort of asset. And so for that, especially being a woman in the business and trying to make a name, it's really empowering to be like respected for your knowledge versus like just your looks or something. So that is one. And then I would say my high school, she was like a drama teacher. So she taught like theater, and I was not a theater kid, no shame if you were, but she taught a broadcast journalism class that literally set me up for my entire life. And Miss Kersey was all about kind of pushing you out of your comfort zones. And one of my hit segments that she literally told me to do on the regular, I would go interview cars in high school, because my high school, this is so stupid, I'm just going to say it. My high school had a section for seniors where if you were a senior and you paid for your parking pass, you could park closer. And it was just a senior lot. I was a senior and I would go out and interview cars that were not seniors. I'd like, hey, how was your morning? Did you go get Starbucks? Oh, yeah, you were 5 minutes late. Is that why you decided to park in the senior parking lot? Like, move your car. And it was kind of just this like comical, funny, like absolutely not educational in any capacity, but it was sort of just a way to like, I don't know, like ruse a little bit of the underclassmen, get a little bit of a funny laugh out of things. It was just really cool. So Miss Fizzy was amazing. And then in college, without question, like just my peers are amazing. There's a girl named Courtney Cronin. She was in my broadcast journalism classes. She's all over ESPN now. You guys cannot like see anything about the NFL without her. She has bust her butt to get places. And so I guess just like my peers challenging me at all times. There's a girl named Ashley Peak who I love to death. She just never stops. Her and I were always called the social queens back in the day. We interned for the Indiana Pacers in between our sophomore and junior year of college. And it's, what is it? Iron sharpens iron. Girl, she will sharpen me for the rest of my life. It's why you're in my network. You will sharpen me for the rest of my life. Age is just a number. It doesn't matter if you're older or younger. I really respect people that look past that and really just kind of bring it always. And Ashley Peak is one of those. Ari, you are one of them. I love your husband to death. Even your dad, dude. I love your dad so much. Like so much. Your dad inspires. I get inspired by everyone. But those are my like thank yous for sure. I've had a lot of people that I would say thanks for also not believing in me at a point, because that shit has empowered me to show up tenfold. And I think it's interesting to know maybe what they're witnessing from afar. Nothing's ever clear. If you look at social media, you think someone's doing great, maybe they're not, or vice versa. And so for that, like, thanks for not believing in me, because it's really helped light that fire in me and find who I am and what I've got. And I'm only just beginning. This is not the peak for me.
Love. You are everything to me. not to play favorites, but this was the best hour of my life, and I'm so grateful you're here, and I look up to you. But I love you so much. Thank you for being here, and thank you all for listening. As you can see, Emily Fergason is the best person in the entire world, and she happens to be the most amazing at social. Follow her, buy a watch, Bob's Watches, Newport Beach, California, and thank you, Ferg, and see you guys all later. See ya.
Bye, you guys.
Thank you so much for listening. It was a pleasure talking with you. Keep up to date with Go to Millions by subscribing wherever you get your podcasts. And if you learned something with us here today, tell a friend for me, will ya? Thank you again, and let's chat soon. Bye!